Ladies and gentlemen, it just happened. Washington is in full meltdown mode tonight after President Donald J. Trump just did exactly what the media swore he would never do. He just pulled the trigger. Mass firings, thousands of federal employees gone in a single wave, entire agencies stripped down overnight, and the reaction from the left, oh, it's pure hysteria. Chuck Schumer, he is panicking, screaming about illegal firings and calling it disgusting, even accusing the president of waging war on democracy. But here's the truth that the mainstream media just won't touch. This isn't chaos. It's strategy. This is the Marxist showdown exposed, finally laid bare for the world to see. Now, for 10 straight days, Schumer and his far-left allies have held America hostage. They refused every funding deal. They demanded bloated spending, their open borders and union bailouts. They're now paying the price, guys. Now, President Trump's response? Drain the swamp for real this time. So today I want to go ahead and break down the entire playbook, how President Trump just flipped the script, how Chuck Schumer's political stunt just backfired spectacularly, and this particular shutdown here today may go down in history as the moment that the swamp started to drown. Buckle up, folks, because what is happening right now in Washington, oh, this is nothing short of a revolution. Hit the like button, subscribe. Here we are. October 2025, and Washington has officially erupted. President Donald J. Trump just detonated the biggest administrative shakeup in modern American history. I'm talking a full-scale mass firing of federal workers. No furloughs, no delays, no empty threats. I'm talking real pink slips. Entire wings of agencies, education, EPA, Health and Human Services went silent overnight. And Chuck Schumer, he's losing it. Reporters describe him pacing outside the Senate chamber, shouting about revenge politics and assaults on democracy. His own staff tried to calm the guy down, but the cameras caught everything. This is a man watching his political leverage vanish in real time. The White House, meanwhile, calls it fiscal surgery. One senior aide said they wanted a shutdown. We're giving them efficiency. Trump's team argues it's not punishment, it's liberation. Liberation from decades of taxpayer abuse and bureaucratic waste. So that's when conservative media dropped the label that's now setting the internet on fire, the Marxist shutdown. Okay, so the idea that Chuck Schumer and the far left engineered this crisis to protect their power base, public sector unions, progressive nonprofits, and the alphabet agencies that survive only by spending other people's money. Meanwhile, within hours, guys, hashtag Marxist shutdown shot to the top of X, Truth Social, and Rumble, all of it. Hashtag Marxist shutdown was just trending everywhere. So Americans are split down the middle. One side furious over job losses, but the other side is cheering the long-promised drain the swamp finally going operational. And make no mistake, this isn't random. This is a calculated strike. Trump's message today is clear. If you hold the country hostage, I'll start cutting the hostages free, one agency at a time. By Monday morning, the impact was absolutely undeniable. I mean, whole divisions inside the Department of Education, the EPA, and Health and Human Services, they'd been cleared out. I mean, you could practically hear the echo in the hallways. The Office of Management and Budget confirmed the layoffs were a part of the president's new Make America Efficient Again initiative. This is an executive move to shrink agencies that ballooned during the Biden years. So, at education, programs tied to DEI mandates and gender curriculum grants, they were the first to go. At the EPA, climate compliance offices that duplicated state functions were slashed. And at HHS, redundant pandemic-era task forces, they were dissolved overnight, within 24 hours. I mean, supporters called it a reset. Democrats called it a constitutional crisis. Either way, guys, President Trump had finally done it. He used the shutdown as a scalpel instead of a sledgehammer. Then came the explosion. During a Capitol Hill press conference, Chuck Schumer, he stepped up to the podium looking visibly shaken. The man was shaking. You could look clearly at his hands. He pointed his finger at the cameras and called Trump's firings disgusting, cruel, and dictatorial. Now, within minutes, the clips were everywhere, going viral. Twitter, Rumble, YouTube, X, you name it. The White House responded instantly. Press Secretary Dana Howard firing back, "What's disgusting is decades of waste and corruption that these people built." That counterpunch right there changed the tone of the entire debate. Now, for the next 48 hours, every news outlet, Fox, CNN, Newsmax, even BBC, they ran wall-to-wall coverage of the feud. Headlines were reading, "Schumer unhinged. White House fires back. Showdown enters new phase." I love it, right? So what began as this budget fight, it had turned into a battle for the moral high ground. And so far, Trump's side is winning it. Now, freedom in retirement means more than hobbies or travel. It means freedom from worry. But the wrong Medicare plan keeps you chained to stress and bills. So this is why I partner with Chapter, folks. They give people the confidence to enjoy retirement without fearing what their Medicare plan will or will not cover. You know what I mean? Now, one of our viewers, she said, for the first time, I felt like my Medicare plan wasn't limiting me. It was protecting me. I love it. So let me ask you, are you ready for freedom? Or are you stuck while most people are moving forward? Now, most people, they're already dialing that phone number right there at the bottom of your screen right there, guys, or they're visiting askchapter.org/Ron. That phone number again is 909-563-8279. Now, here's where things get absolutely historic. For years, Trump promised to drain the swamp, but no one thought that he was going to do it like this. 200,000 bureaucrats left government during his first term. But these latest firings, they hit the nerve center. The political class never believed that he would actually dismantle their strongholds inside the agencies. But by day 10 of this shutdown, the unthinkable became reality. The Department of Education, once untouchable, is now operating with less than half of its pre-Biden staff. The EPA's regional offices, long accused of political activism, are merging into a single compliance branch. Even career insiders are whispering, this is the first real downsizing of Washington in our lifetimes. Supporters call it cleansing, the moment the government finally starts working for taxpayers and not against them. But the backlash, it was immediate. Union bosses, lawyers, and even activist groups, they raced to California federal court, filing emergency lawsuits against the administration. The AFL-CIO, and even the American Federation of Government Employees led the charge, claiming the mass firings violated labor protections and due process. By Thursday, a judge in Northern California scheduled a hearing to determine whether or not President Trump's actions could continue. But the White House isn't backing down. In fact, legal counsel argued that these are not furloughs. These are permanent reductions in force, authorized under fiscal emergency powers tied to the shutdown. So it's not political, it's operational. And clearly, the left brought this on themselves. Now, President Trump's message was sharp. Congress won't balance the books. I'll go ahead and balance the payroll. The statement alone sent union leaders into full panic mode. Behind the headlines, a far deeper plan was unfolding. In fact, while Chuck Schumer raged on cable news, Russ Vought, Trump's director of the Office of Management and Budget, quietly confirmed what insiders suspected for a long time. This wasn't chaos, it was choreography. In fact, every agency had been required to submit a reduction in force plan weeks before the shutdown even began. In other words, the firings weren't spontaneous. They were the blueprint of Operation Phoenix: dismantle waste, restructure, and rebuild under loyalty of America First. Leaked memos from OMB painted the picture clearly. Each department was graded on redundancy, duplication, and political bias. The lowest performers, programs that had drifted from their legal mandates, they were zeroed out first. So when the shutdown hit, the switch flipped instantly. Trump's inner circle called it strategic precision, business turnaround, not a purge. So when the media tried to label it as austerity, the White House changed that language overnight. They called it accountability, a moral reset. President Trump just stepped up before reporters and he said, if you don't open the government, you don't get to keep wasting the people's money. Can I get an amen for that, right? That single line right there from President Trump became the quote of the week, clipped and shared millions of times across X, TikTok, and Truth Social. Posters and pollsters noticed something rather different, something unexpected. Independent voters liked it. They didn't see cruelty. They saw discipline. The same tone that once scared the establishment was now winning back suburban taxpayers that were tired of bloated budgets. Trump wasn't shrinking government for ideology's sake. He was demanding performance. It was the clearest message yet. Results or removal. You choose. So, as the firings rippled through D.C., the political blame game exploded on Capitol Hill. Republicans wasted zero time zeroing in on Chuck Schumer. In fact, Speaker Mike Johnson called it bluntly. This isn't a government shutdown. This is a Democrat lockdown. GOP senators accused Chuck Schumer of deliberately dragging negotiations in order to appease his far-left flank, especially Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and of course the Marxist progressives threatening to primary moderate Democrats next year. Now, conservative headlines hammered the same point. Schumer shut down to save socialism. That's all it was. Schumer shut down to save socialism, and it stuck. Leaked texts from Democrat aides revealed that the party was divided. Centrists wanted compromise, but Chuck Schumer, he was terrified of looking weak to the radical base. Now, behind closed doors, it was pure panic. Meanwhile, the media completely imploded. Schumer's now infamous disgusting and dictatorial comment dominated every panel for days. CNN called Trump cruel, MSNBC labeled him dangerous, but over at Fox News, Greg Gutfeld, he was joking around. He was saying, if draining the swamp is disgusting, then America's finally cleaning house. That clip went viral instantly. Even the left-leaning journalists had to admit President Trump's actions, they were technically legal under the shutdown statutes. He didn't break the law, he outsmarted it. By midweek, opinion shows were split between outrage and reluctant admiration. Was Trump a tyrant? Or was he just the first leader with the guts to enforce fiscal reality? So every time the media shouted dictator, Trump's approval among independents climbed. It was textbook Trump. Bait the outrage, dominate the coverage, and walk away controlling the story. So by the second weekend of the shutdown, the cracks inside the Democratic Party, they were undeniable. Reports leaked that moderate Democrats from Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Arizona, they were considering crossing party lines to end the standoff. Some were even holding quiet talks with GOP leadership, begging for a clean funding bill just to stop the political bleeding. Behind closed doors, Chuck Schumer's leadership team, they were in complete turmoil. Several senators reportedly warned him that this no-compromise strategy was political suicide. Internal pollings from his own caucus showed voters blaming Democrats for stalled paychecks, delayed benefits, and airport chaos. And as the shutdown stretched past 10 days, whispers started circulating. Chuck Schumer's job might be on the line. In fact, then came the emotional punch. A former Health and Human Services employee appeared on Fox, tearfully describing how she was expecting a furlough, not a pink slip. The segment went viral within hours, guys. On conservative media, that clip became a symbol of the very bloat that President Trump had promised to eliminate. Commenters flooded the feed with one line repeated over and over: "Welcome to the private sector." Now, this wasn't cruelty, this was accountability. The right framed her story as proof that government had become a little bit too comfortable failing taxpayers. The left called it heartless political theater, but either way, the clip crystallized the divide. One America demanding reform, the other demanding protection. And through it all, Trump remained unmoved, tweeting simply, "Government should serve the people, not itself." That post alone racked up nearly 20 million views overnight. So inside the West Wing, aides were calling it shock therapy. Trump's team knew exactly what they were doing. They're forcing structural reform through a moment of controlled crisis. So while Democrats are screaming about dictatorship, economists inside the administration, they described the plan as a strategic gamble. Yes, there would be turbulence, sure. But to President Trump, this was about more than budgets. It was about breaking the addiction to bloated bureaucracy. Trump himself put it bluntly during an impromptu Q&A. Sometimes you gotta break it to fix it. That line right there, it hit every major news outlet, and within hours, it was being quoted like a rally cry. His supporters compared it to Reagan's firing the air traffic controllers in the 80s. Bold, decisive, unapologetic leadership. Critics predicted the financial chaos, but it never came. Instead, Wall Street ticked upward and markets stabilized. So by the end of the week, both Fox and Rasmussen polls revealed something rather shocking. Trump's approval rating had jumped 5 points among working class voters and 3 points among independents. Even traditionally blue-collar Democrats were starting to say, well, at least he's doing something. So the phrase Schumer's shutdown, it replaced government shutdown in headline after headline. The political headwinds had turned, and the public blame fell squarely on the Democrats. Flights delayed, Schumer's fault. Paychecks paused, Schumer's fault. The entire messaging war flipped overnight, and for the first time since the showdown began, the White House was smiling. President Trump didn't just survive the storm, he owned it. Every outrage headline became another brick in the narrative that he was finally cleaning out Washington's rot. So by Friday evening, the tension in Washington hit a boiling point. Cameras rolled as Chuck Schumer stepped up to the podium, his voice shaky, his face pale under the bright lights. The press expected fire, but what they got was something closer to defeat. He dodged questions about new negotiations, snapped at a reporter who mentioned union lawsuits, and stumbled through a statement about protecting democracy. The clip went viral instantly, not because of what he said, but because of what he didn't say. For the first time, the Senate Majority Leader looked powerless. Even mainstream journalists admitted it. A Politico headline quietly read, "Schumer's cornered. Conservative networks are less subtle. You did this, Chuck." That phrase became the meme of the day, plastered across every social feed from Truth Social to Telegram. Meanwhile, The White House doubled down. Trump teased what he called phase 2 of the government reset, a series of deeper audits targeting non-essential spending across multiple departments. We've only just begun. That's what he told a crowd cheering outside of the Southern lawn. Well, folks, if they won't open government for the people, we'll open it without them. So the crowd erupted, guys. The swamp wasn't just draining, it was evaporating. So by midnight, Schumer's office went dark. Staffers slipped out without comment. Washington had seen many shutdowns before, but never one that turned into a movement. And for millions of Americans that were watching from home, one thing was clear. Donald J. Trump had just flipped the script. The hostage taker became the hero. The shutdown became the revolution. Hit the like button, subscribe, share this video with someone who needs to hear the truth. We'll see you guys next time.